お願いします。あ、始まってるかな。あ、始まって
一応、
ます。
はい、
はい。
大丈夫そうです。大丈夫ですかね。えーっと、言語はどちらも英語ということでよろしいんですか？日本語の方がいいですかね。
一応英語で作ってはきたんですけど、
はい。
どっちでも。
僕も英語で
西本
作りましたが、ちょっと細かい哲学の議論とかはできないかもしれないので、いやでも基本英語で大丈夫。
わかりました。じゃあ、
は
お願いします。So let's get started. Today's journal club and the first presenter is Nishimoto-san. And please keep in mind that we have a time schedule, 5 minutes summary, 5 minutes uh, clarifying the difficulty, and the 5 minutes for the the discussion, and another 15 minutes, the general discussion, and the relation to our Korea structure grant meeting. So the total, the 30 minutes presentation is expected. So yeah,
Okay.
please go ahead, Nishimoto-san.
Okay. My name is Shosuke Nishimoto. I'm a first year PhD student at University of Tokyo. Today I'd like to introduce this book. The title is Nishida ki多郎 生きることと哲学 Living and Philosophy, written by Masakatsu Fujita. Okay, today I like to primarily talk about the pure experience from chapter 2 and the place, basho, from chapter 4. And as for chapter 6, I intend to only touch on it briefly. The reason I decided to introduce this book is that I have been interested in Bergson's philosophy, and I felt there are connections between Nishida's concept of pure experience and Bergson's ideas of image and pure memory. I choose chapter 2 and 4 based on that interest. And as for chapter 6, I became curious about whether the idea of seeing things through action might have some relation to the active inference in free energy principle. Okay, here is the summary of chapter 2. As far as I understand, Nishida's concept of pure experience is really close to what I think of as qualia. And Nishida said that pure experience is the only true reality, real existence. In short, a experience, pure experience refers to a pure sensory experience before any judgment is added. This judgment refers to the state in which one understands what a particular color or sound is, or that this is a stimulus from the external world, and that I am the one perceiving this stimulus. Therefore, therefore, in scientific terms, it might be appropriate to call this cognition, I think. Nishida described the absence of cognition is in pure experience as discarding contrivance and removing artificial assumptions. When we say I see an apple, we are assuming the scheme of subject-object opposition. However, Nishida believes that it is necessary to question this scheme itself. Yeah, and furthermore, I think this is very important point. Nishida's concept of pure experience seems to attempt to dissolve the dualism of matter and spirit. The book states that, for example, experiencing the deliciousness of fruit or the cuteness of a baby is not merely an inner experience of consciousness. objects manifest not just as material substances, but from the outset as things that evoke deliciousness or cuteness in us. And there is no separation between the worlds of matter and spirit. Next, in chapter 4, it is said that the concept of place was developed to dispel the psychologistic aspect of pure experience. Psychologistic attitude is the attitude of trying to determine the truth of things only based on experience. To dispel the psychologistic character of pure experience, Nishida contemplated how pure experience relates to cognitive knowledge. In other words, he tried to clarify that experience is not merely something that exists, but it simultaneously contributes to the constitution of our knowledge. Nishida, drawing inspiration from Aristotle's ideas, believed that an intuitive element, which can be described as an infinite predicate transcending judgment, lies beneath our cognition. I interpreted the place is a field where there exists pure experience, which can be described as the self that cannot be objectified, or as the direct given that cannot be fully reflected upon. And then Nishida focused on self-awareness, which has both aspects of direct experience and reflection. And he believed that what is formed through the process of self-awareness in place is judgment. Okay, so, and the chapter 4 is a bit complicated, so I made a illust to explain the chapter 4. This is my conceptual diagram of the process. Within this place, each pure experience exists. And of course, self-awareness is also one of the pure experience. And each pure experience undergoes the process of self-awareness and is then formed into judgment. That is cognition, I think. But I'm not sure if this image is correct. So if there is something wrong, please let me know during the Q&A session. Okay, and in chapter 6, the author described seeing things through action as a critique of perceiving humans merely as recognizing subjects, and the world as an objective realm standing in opposition to them. And this concept encompasses the 4 meanings described here. Objects emerge expressively to us as if they will satisfy our desires. The elicitation of action, the act of creating things, seeing what one has created. Additionally, related to point 1 here, the concept of expressive body, I don't know how to translate in English, 表現作用的身体 is addressed. And it is asserted that it is not that there's consciousness and then the body. Rather, there is the body and then consciousness. Okay. here is the difficult point, I think. I had many questions while reading the book, but the time is limited. Here I will mention just one of them. The books says that there is no I in pure experience. Does this mean that there is no metacognition of I, or does it refer to a state where it is not established which system owns this experience? I believe that the scope, the range of the system in which experience arises should be clearly defined. Otherwise, an infinite combination of systems could be conceived to define the experience. So this is my question. So to say simply, this question is about what it means to say no I. Okay, and the last here is discussion point. In this book, pure experience is a pure sensory experience that exists before any judgments, such as a subject-object scheme and a subject-object scheme. And it was also stated that objects themselves manifest from the outset as things that evoke deliciousness and cuteness. So does pure experience exist even in the absence of me, or in the absence of the system that experiences, such as the brain? This is the first point I'd like to discuss. And another point, it's really simple, but is about what place really is. Is place part of the external world or within our brain, or does it exist somewhere else? And yeah, I'd like to consider how it can be measured as well. And the last, this is more of an option, but I'd like to have a thorough discussion about it in the ground meeting. Can pure experience, or qualia, be expressed by probability? I believe that probability is very useful at the level of judgment and cognition, like Bayesian inference, right? But however, I don't think it can be applied in a state where the subject-object scheme does not exist, meaning a situation where someone is observing something does not hold. Therefore, my answer is that qualia cannot be dealt with by probability. But yeah, I'd like to hear your opinion. Yeah, that's all for my presentation.
Okay, thank you for the presentation, Shimoto-san. And let's move on to the 15 minutes Q&A session. But Shimoto-san, could you go back to the question slide? One
Okay.
slide back. Yes, so yeah, I hope this can be addressed by attendee, the Ishihara-san, but any comments or answers to this?
Yeah, thank you, Nishimoto-san, for a nice summary of the 3 chapters. Before we address this point, I wanted to maybe address this point you made about identifying pure experience with qualia. I think in one of the slides you had a question mark, but you said maybe pure experience is qualia. Yeah, there, yeah. I'm a bit cautious about this identifying pure experience with qualia, because qualia basically means the quality of an experience, right? So even when there is a subject-object duality, so even when in a simple kind of, your example of seeing an apple, and there's clearly a distinction between me, the seer, the observer, and the apple that's being seen, the object. In such kind of experience, there's still a sort of quality to that experience, right? So I would be a bit careful to identify pure experience with qualia. I would rather say that pure experience is a kind of experience where it has the richest qualia.
Richest.
Right. Yeah. Like I think Fujita Sensei in that book was also saying how rich pure experience is, and that as soon as we make a judgment, as soon as we introduce the subject-object duality, this kind of richness of the quality of experience is diluted. So as soon as we make a kind of conceptual analysis to our experience, somehow we move away from that initial richness of experience. So I would want to say the pure experience is a kind of experience that has the richest qualia. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like the really elementary, so how to say, the bottom of the every experience.
Yeah, the experience, it's the kind of, well, I don't know what you mean by elementary, but
Sorry, initial state or
yeah, the kind of, our initial, I guess in a sense it's very basic kind of experience before we make any sort of judgment. So we could say that when babies are always in a state of pure experience because they don't yet have this kind of distinction between the world and themselves, for example.
Wait, well, can I ask a question? I'm really happy to hear the connection between pure experience and qualia, but I'm not sure. I couldn't understand why the pure experience is connected to the richest qualia, because, well, for instance, when I go abroad, new country, everything is new. So I can't find my words to explain the experience. But I think pure experience is a bit different from the experience that cannot find meaningless experience. So I mean, well, so gradually, and when I leave the foreign country, I gradually capture the meaning. Oh, this is chair and this is sky in this country. So I think the meaning is created little by little. So I think so, but well, so I'm confusing the pure experience and the difference between pure experience and experience that cannot find meaning. And do I make sense? So that's what I would like to ask to Yugo-san.
Well, that's interesting you mentioned meaning, because Nishida in somewhere in Zen no Kenkyu, he does say that pure experience is devoid of meaning. But it's a bit misleading the way he puts it, because when you say that, what he means is that it's devoid is a bit misleading, but it doesn't yet have the conceptual it doesn't yet have the conceptual distinctions, right? So what you're describing to me when you go to a foreign country and you're kind of mesmerized by this kind of all of this, experience, in a sense you're having pure experience, because you don't yet have you don't yet have the conceptual distinctions to pin down all those distinctions that are there, right? So it's very rich. But are you saying that you don't think that is pure experience?
Well, of course, it is really rich, but I think it is kind of meaningless to me. So I can't capture any meanings from the messy environment. I mean, for instance, well, I listen to your radio, Korea radio, by the way, and I kind of understand what is the pure experience. For instance, when I talk to you, I'm really concentrated, and I think I sometimes forget and I'm really devoted to the conversation. But I think this is kind of pure experience. Very rich, very well, like, but well, I don't think that yeah, if everything is new to me, it is kind of unstructured experience that is not meaningless. I mean, kind of random, noisy. So of course it is rich and new, but well, I have nothing to capture from it. Do I make sense? So I think this may be so I'm not sure. Sure if it is really well that can be well. I'm not sure if there is really difference.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think maybe we could make a distinction between, well, how can I put it? I think what you're describing when you visit a foreign country and it's kind of all random and unstructured, I think we could say maybe qualitatively it's a bit different from the kind of experience you have when you're, when you're attending to something in a kind of mugamuchu way and you don't really feel like you're there. Qualitatively, it's different, right? But I think we could say that they're both types of pure experience.
Okay. I like the word of mugamuchu. It is really, yeah, I understand. Okay.
Right? Yeah. It's a kind of, I mean, literally mugamuchu, like no self, right? So you don't have that sense of self. So it's interesting because on one hand, we can think of pure experience as very rich in qualia, right? But on the other hand, you could say that it's very unstructured. So all the distinctions are there, but in a kind of latent way. It's implicit. It's not yet. So so you could look at it both ways. You could say that it's rich, right? Saying that everything is there. It's just that the distinctions are not yet clear. So you can't really, in a sense, it's kind of meaningless. But at the same time, you could say it's extremely meaningful because it's all there.
Yeah. I come to understand. Can I ask one more question? Because yeah, I'm sorry, I know we have a lot of limited time, but yeah, thank you, Yuko-san. I really understand. But what about, when I go abroad, everything was new. But when I come back to Japan and I remember the experience, or I come again, visit again the foreign countries in second time, I remember something. This is UK. I really like the Korea smells of UK or something, atmosphere of UK. So then in the second visit, I remember the Korea of UK or foreign country. So I think the Korea or the experience of UK is packed in one Korea or UK Korea. So I think so that's what my long dream. I would like to know the difference between the packed Korea, UK Korea and the very broad, rich, pure experience Korea. Is it a matter of richness of Korea?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Not
Sorry,
sure.
it's not just a combination of a lot of Korea. It's
Maybe.
you said not combination, but the integrated one Korea, you mean?
Well, for instance, so we, Sho-san and me is very, we don't see each other, but in the second, when I remember you, I have something like Sho-san's Korea. You are like your face, your voice, what you said. Is it so something like, and when I second meet, I remember you. You are like that kind of person, something. So I think this is a very packed, small, poor Korea of you, maybe, I don't know. But well, I mean, so I'm interested in how representation is created from the unstructured, very rich, pure experience. I mean, the representation is kind of very packed, like Shosan's Korea, UK Korea, very poor Korea. But representation should be, well, reduce the amount of information. So I'm sorry, long comments.
I feel like this relates to the other paper, about the reverie and
Yeah.
how Bachelard mentions like in smells. It's true that when, you know, certain smells evoke a kind of memory, right? It kind of immediately, a smell of, I don't know, I can't really explain it in words, but there is a certain smell that immediately takes me back to a place in my childhood in the United States, right? So there's a certain qualities. You mentioned representation, but I feel like it's something more immediate. Like certain qualities have a kind of power to immediately transfer us to that experience, to that previous experience, I feel.
I see. So
we didn't really address, well, we kind of addressed some of the questions, I think. But yeah, going back to the questions.
Sorry.
Questions. Well, maybe, yeah. Let's see. Does pure experience exist even in the absence of me? So I think we need to be careful what we mean by me. So obviously pure experience is a very rich qualia experience. So there has to be, like, in some sense, there has to be an experiencer, right? There has to be a subject that experiences that. But Nishida is saying that that subject is not the subject that is opposed to an object, right? So that's why he says, if we want to talk about me or an I or an experiencer in pure experience, that we can say that it's the place where all of this is happening. Right? So normally we think of an experiencer or the subject as this me being as opposed looking at, observing an object, right? But in pure experience, that me is gone. So the question is, where is the experiencer? And he says, well, if we want to put a name on it, then maybe we could say it's just this whole place where all of this is happening. and it's a very elusive concept though, because he calls it munobasho, right? The place of nothingness. The reason why he does that is because it's not really a thing, an object. You can't really say what it is.
So we cannot measure, we cannot touch, we cannot reach the munobasho.
Yeah, that's right. It's just this kind of, you can, to make a metaphor, it's like this kind of background that's forever a background. As soon as you make it a foreground, you know, it becomes something else. So it has to remain in the background. But without it, there would be no experience. Right? So it's something that we have to assume for there to be any sort of experience, but you cannot make it an object. When you make it into an object, so when you try to measure it, it becomes something else.
Okay, so we have 1 minute left, but could you go back one slide back?
Okay.
How about this question, Ishihara-san?
Yeah, so I wasn't exactly sure what you mean by system.
The where the experience arise. I,
Brain system?
Brain system?
like brain, yeah.
Not established which system only exists. Well, certainly there's no metacognition of I, right? In pure experience. But by this I, no I in pure experience. This I is again that subject that is opposed to an object. I know I just keep on repeating this. Does that? I feel, yeah, I wonder if that makes sense at all to like I've been kind of, you know, for me it makes sense, but does it make sense to speak of a subject that's opposed to an object? It's the usual sense of a subject, right? When we normally speak of a subject, that's what we mean.
I think this is like that. Oh, I'm sorry. So the movie should be well distorted, but well like that. I don't have eye. No, just watching something. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that situation, Matsuda-san said, we forget what I am, but the
So there's yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Experience is arising in some systems. If we don't define the range of the system, we can think about all combination of the system. My brain and Matsuda-san's brain, a combination of our two brain or something like that. So
right. Yeah, I think pure experience, because it's not tied down to any individual yet. Pure experience can be a kind of a communal, collective state.
Like festival?
Yeah, like when you're for example, or like you go to a concert and together you're enjoying this music. So yeah, there's not yet a distinction between me and you.
So are we sharing the basho in with other people?
Yeah.
I see.
But yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that we are running. Actually, we have to wrap up the first session, and let's continue the discussion during grant meeting November.
Okay.
And will everybody come to the Shonan?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I cannot make it in November.
Okay.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, like I have a 2 months old baby, so yeah, I really
Okay.
I see. So yeah, let's just continue the discussion.
Yeah, it was really nice time to talk to Yoko-san.
Right, and I guess the discussion in Japanese might be the easier to communicate.
I think so.
With each other, so. But anyway, thank you so much for the presentation, Nishimoto-san.
Thank you.
So the second session